A breath of fresh air for Nollywood and Nigerian storytelling. Breath of Life is Amazon Prime's first commissioned Nollywood film. The main character of the movie is Mr. Timi, a talented priest who, after his family is tragically snatched from him, becomes an elderly, reclusive man. Timi not only discovers the meaning of life, but he also learns to live again via Elijah, a modest man with lofty aspirations to become a priest. The timeline begins in 2060. Then the narrator Elijah flashes back to the 1950s, unraveling the story of Mr. Timi. After returning to his village in Nigeria, Timi, an extraordinary man, had an amazing life overseas. His ideal life, as a family man and clergyman in Nigeria, is about to take a turn for the worse. His first brush with terror starts when he witnesses a murder by the notorious and dreaded Baby Fire gang.
I'll swear it to the magistrate. I saw him.
He then offered to testify as an eyewitness against the dangerous gang in court as a result of this.
That's him right there.
You'll get the impression that this choice is likely to backfire at this point in the movie. Consequently, the gang forced him to watch helplessly as they burned his family alive. He is incapacitated for a while, before rising and seeking retribution. Even this did not ease the anguish of the loss he had experienced. As a result, he made the unsuccessful decision to end his life.
By the time I would come to know Mr. Timi, he was an old man.
35 years later, the narrator Elijah meets the reclusive and hostile Mr. Timi. The man who once believed it was his purpose to serve and protect has become a nihilist.
Do anything to bring this great house of God back to its glory.
If you ever say that name in this house again.
He appoints Elijah as his house manager after teaching him his golden rule. After a difficult beginning to their relationship, Elijah eventually starts to go past his barriers.
It took me 16 tries and 3 hours to learn how to make omelettes for Mr. Timi.
But he doesn't stop there. He fervently wishes to win over his cold boss heart, and there lies the obstacle in the hero's quest.
You shall not oppress a hired servant who is poor and needy.
When Elijah's friend Anna decides to visit them, we get to witness the more welcoming side of Mr. Timi. The three quickly become friendly.
You've been together for a year, and you haven't.
The movie treads carefully around cliches and moral prejudices.
Now, why don't you want to do more? Is it because the Bible says it's bad?
But it begs the question of whether Elijah would stand by his convictions.
If you love her, you want to spend the rest of your life with her, who cares what some 3,000-year-old book says?
Up until Elijah visits Anna's parents, the plot follows a linear trajectory. The film sorely needed a boost of intensity, which this scene provided.
I think you better start going right now. Get out.
The reason behind Anna's father's hatred for Elijah is a property that he plans to turn into a hotel location that Elijah frequently uses for church gatherings. With his relationship with Anna and his ministry hanging in the air, Elijah's story is beginning to look like Mr. Timi's. The plot thickens when Elijah is given 90 days by Anna's father to come up with 49 million naira, which is what he claims he spent on land maintenance. For young Elijah, things naturally start to grow complicated. However, as he and Anna dug into the bag of solutions, strong emotions were found in it.
Anna Makri, I love you.
The lovebirds have become pawns in this game of life and must confront their knight in shining armor.
Elijah has dedicated his life to you. He does everything for you.
It is now up to Mr. Timi to make a move and save the day. But after colliding with this iceberg, their ship starts to sink.
Just stay out of this. You think you're helping, but you're only making things worse.
Elijah must have felt the Titanic effect as he sat in the cold, drenched, in the hope of reuniting with the one he loves. He must have been carried away by the turbulent storm of love, but not far enough to go back to his regular life as a houseboy. At last, he had some warmth when Mr. Timmy suggested to lend him a hand.
Maybe I'll give him a call.
The power struggle between these men was momentarily contained by Mr. Timmy's efforts, but a struggle between man and God eventually broke out.
Think you know God? You think he loves you?
Given the status of their relationship at the time, Mr. Timmy's thrashing of the chessboard seems significant in the scene where Elijah decides to follow God's guidance and abandon his work as a houseboy. Elijah's emotional problems are still overwhelming him, particularly since his attempt at compromise almost cost him his life. He is, once again, in need of saving. In a twist of fate, his predicament facilitates the reunion of old friends. Breath of Life plays into the narrative of the intersection of fate and faith. A tragic event could lead to a renewal of hope. This is what the film wants you to take away. The plot doesn't provide Walojo enough opportunities to represent the seemingly tormented yet sober man the movie aims to show us, even though he does a convincing job as Mr. Timmy. This movie's emotional scenes happen far too rapidly, leaving little to no opportunity for viewers to become fully engaged. The movie's failure to authentically capture the 1950s and 1960s through the right sets, settings, and costumes is another area of weakness. However, what the film needs to improve in aesthetics, it tries to make up with production value. Breath of Life is showing exclusively on Prime.